Hey, this is Brent Jensen, and you're listening to No Sleep Till Sudbury, the show where we talk about the music that makes your skin vibrate. And joining me today is big Sugar Frontman Gordie Johnson. Gordie, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good.
Welcome to the show. I really appreciate you taking the time today. So, Gordie, I'm a big Sugar fan, have been since 91, 92. You know, that was just a while after you'd play with Molly Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was actually just on the show a little while ago. She's a great lady. She's still got a lot of fire.
Yeah, Molly will be singing with us next week, which is going to be the first time in about 20 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is pretty exciting for us.
Yeah, I knew that you guys had an extensive guest list for the tribute we're about to talk about, but I didn't know she was part of it.
Yeah, she's just come aboard in the last week. And yeah, it's more than 20 years since she sang with us, so it's kind of a big deal.
That's a good segue into what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about a very special tribute that's going to take place on December 28th at the Danforth Music Hall in Toronto. Earlier this year in July, we lost longtime Big Sugar bassist Garry Lowe. And Big Sugar, along with special guests, will be celebrating Gary's life. So those special guests include members of the Bare Naked Ladies, Tom Wilson, Danko Jones, Mo Berg, people from Platinum Blonde, like the Dream Warriors. This is a crazy guest list. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's the willingness for people to participate has been amazing.
Yeah.
The response, really, there wasn't anyone who said no. Everybody we contacted were either all in right from the first call, or, I mean, the time of year is hard, too, because people have family commitments, and
yeah,
musicians play, too, right? So people are gigging. But, yeah, we're thrilled with all of our friends coming out. And it's a unique format to the show, too, because everyone's doing Big Sugar songs.
That's awesome.
Or they're doing covers of stuff that we also did, you know, as covers throughout our career, or just songs that we really love. So it's pretty unique.
That's great.
Opportunity to hear people doing our songs, yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool. Now, you know, with Big Sugar, I know that a lot of guitar players, and I would include myself in that list, gravitated to Big Sugar because of your guitar playing and the great tone that you always had. But Gary's bass lines really laid the foundation for that groove that is a big part of so many of Big Sugar's songs.
Well, I started out as a bass player and remain a bass player all my life. I still tour and do sessions and all kinds of stuff as a bass player. So Garry and I had an unspoken language between the two of us. We understood that, you know, it's all built from the ground up with the bass. So the two of us had a thing about bass that it was a shared belief
yeah,
in the instrument.
That makes a lot of sense, because in these songs that we're going to talk about, you know, the bass is at the forefront. It really kind of lays down the groove in these tunes. You know, I wanted to tell you something, actually. I saw a clip the other day. Crownlands opened for you guys a couple months ago, and you brought Kev Como out to jam with you on an encore, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, actually, Crownlands are doing the tribute show with us as well, and I'm kind of stoked to hear what song they pick to play, because they have such a unique approach to any song they play, being as it's just the two of them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty stoked to see what comes out of what their contribution to the set. I'm really, that's going to be one of those moments where I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see what you guys do.
Yeah, Kev is an awesome player. And Cody's going to be playing with you as well, is that right?
Yeah, yeah, both of them, yeah.
That's cool.
Cody's going to sing, play the drums. Yes, sir.
That's awesome. I look forward to seeing that. Okay, Gordie, so your tunes start off with Red Rover from Brothers and Sisters Are You Ready, 2001. This is a great record.
You know, that's just one of those bass lines that all through our career touring, any point in that song, I could just tuck in and double the bass line with Gary.
Yeah.
And that was just one of those moments that we never talked about, we never planned it, it was never the same way twice, but that was just one of our kind of Big Sugar identity bass lines. You know what I mean? It's like that bass, that's just Big Sugar. There's a couple of those. I sort of did my top 5 list with that in mind, you know, where those were the bass lines that really we became a singular entity.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they lead the songs, definitely. Another one of those is your second one here, A Little Bit All Right, on Revolution Per Minute back in 2011. Awesome reggae groove.
Yeah, it's just 3 notes, but the way Gary played them, I could just float on top of that all night. That song usually stretched out to 15 minutes just because I could really just listen to him do
that. Next one is Calling All the Youth featuring Willie Williams.
Yeah, Gary was a longtime friend and musical collaborator with Willie Williams, who's one of the great architects of reggae.
Yeah.
And Willie lived in the Toronto area for years, and Gary helped link us together, and Willie and I have been very close friends ever since. And Willie's toured with us and collaborated with us on records and written stuff together.
Yeah.
And so that was the first song that I connected with Willie Williams on, and we played the Willie Williams bass line. Anytime we could default to that bass line at any point in any song. We certainly recycled it a number of times.
Yeah. Now this song for me has a bit of a ska feel. Like it kind of it's reminiscent of like bands like UB40 almost.
Which the Calling All the Youth?
Yeah.
That's the classic reggae bass line. That's, I mean, it's most reminiscent of Willie Williams' Armageddon Time.
Yeah.
You know, when Willie sang Armageddon Time, that's the bass line that rocks the house for me.
Yeah. So now these tunes, are any of these going to be played during the show, or is that a surprise?
Oh yeah, no, a bunch of those are going to get played in the show.
Okay.
There's over 40 musical guests performing with us. So yeah, there's room to cover all these songs.
Oh yeah. Well, I like the variants too. You know, you've got people like Platinum Blonde and the Dream Warriors.
Yeah, we go from Maestro Fresh West to the Road Hammers in the same show. So.
That's awesome. That's going to be great. Okay, your next tune is All Aboard, also from the same record, Calling All the Youth, back in 2015.
Yeah, that's one of our favorite dub rhythms to play, and I think we did it. That's just one of those like one take in the studio that wasn't even supposed to be the song. We had finished playing the song and just went into a one drop rhythm, and it just happened so spontaneously. And the same with the mix. It was just the mix itself was a performance of just throwing faders and putting tons of echo and reverb on things. And that just will always be a fond memory for me. That whole experience of making that one song.
Next one is Joe Louis, Judgment Day. This goes back a little bit. Hemivision back in, I think this is 96.
That's Gary and his longtime rhythm partner, Raffadine, on drums.
Yeah.
Raffadine was in and out of Big Sugar. He had a very troubled life, but he was in and out of Big Sugar so many times. He plays on almost every record. Mm-hmm. And the two of them, they just brought, really, it's not just music. What they played was an expression of culture, and I needed that to be a part of Big Sugar's sound. And Gary and Rafa playing together on Big Sugar, that's the first song, that's the first take of the first song that we did together. And to this day, that bass line is, I mean, I heard Aerosmith jammed it one night. You know what I mean? Like people will just pick it up and play it. It's one of those great, it's just a 3-note bass line that goes over and over again.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with it.
Yeah. Now, Gordie, how did you come into contact initially with Gary? I know I mentioned at the top of the show that, you had played with Molly Johnson. You played a little bit with Bourbon Tabernacle Choir, I think, Cape Fenner. And after Big Sugar got rolling, I don't think Gary played on the first couple records, did he?
No, I didn't know Gary until after we were on tour, 500 Pounds. We were just starting to take off. Ride Like Hell was a big video on TV at the time. And we were starting to we got signed in the U.S., and things were starting to kind of percolate for us. And I couldn't keep a steady bass player. And every bass player I got, I would wear them out. They'd be done by the end of the show. They'd not be able to play the next night. I was like, oh, come on. Or they couldn't do the second encore. Like, if people want a second encore, I'm going to give it to them.
Yeah.
And I was getting so frustrated and firing bass players left and right.
Yeah.
And I called up my good friend Kit Johnson, who's just he's just a legendary bass player and one of my great musical friends. And I called him and just begged him, like, Kit, you got to help me, man. I cannot seem to find anybody to play the bass.
Yeah.
And he couldn't help me. He was busy. He was working. And he said, you know, what you've got to do is stop trying to force every bass player to play like Garry Lowe. You need to just call Garry Lowe.
Yeah.
So he helped me find Garry who didn't have a phone at the time. So I had to call Kit to call Paul Corby, who was a guitar player in the reggae community in Toronto.
Yeah.
And if Corby could find Garry just on the street somewhere, he was supposed to get Garry to use Corby's phone to call me. I mean, it's just the most convoluted, little chance of it even happening. But we made it happen. Garry called me about 15 minutes later. I couldn't believe it.
That's great. And it just clicked as soon as you guys got together, I'm sure.
Yeah, when Garry showed up, it wasn't really an audition. I just wanted him to drop by the house and we could talk and see if we had some common musical ground and just see if he could dig it, you know?
Yeah.
And Garry showed up with a suit bag and his bass in a gig bag, like, ready to get in a tour bus. I'm like, no, Brendan, we're not leaving today. He was ready to go, man. He wanted to get going.
Okay, you've got one more song here, Gordie. It's called Where I Stand from Heated back in 98.
The bass line that no one else can play. That is every bass player. I don't think we're doing it in the show because no bass player had put up their hand and said, oh yeah, I can rock that one. You know, maybe you can for a minute, but you can't play it for the whole 4 minutes.
No.
You can't do that bass line. No. Sorry, you can't do that.
That's the lead-off track to Heated. That is a super busy bass line.
And it starts with Gary's voice too. The invocation at the beginning with Garry, you know, calling all nation. It just, man, I love hearing that.
Yeah. So, Gordie, what are some of the tunes that you're looking forward to playing the most during this tribute?
I'm just curious to hear the reading of our songs by other artists. I mean, Chris Murphy of Sloan is going to get up and sing a tune. Like I said, the Roadhammers are doing a couple songs, and people are doing unlikely songs. Oh, and Leroy Sibbles is going to play bass on a Big Sugar song. And for me, that's full circle. He was Gary's hero as a bass player.
Oh, wow.
And he's just mythic in my mind. I've never worked with Leroy, and the fact that Leroy's coming back to Toronto from Jamaica to do the show with us is, to me, one of the that's just a great moment and a great gift that Gary's given me, is hipping me to Leroy's music, and now I get to meet Leroy and play with him.
Yeah.
So for me, Willie Williams and Leroy Sibbles, those two guys being on the show, sharing the stage, that is a really, those are heroes.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a great night. I look forward to it. I think it's going to be fantastic. And I wish you the best of luck.
Well, I sure appreciate talking to you.
All right. Take good care. I will see you at the show. And thanks for thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Bye.
All right. This has been No Sleep Till Sudbury with Brent Jensen and my very special guest, Mr. Gordie Johnson from Big Sugar. Till next time, folks. Take good care.
Brent Jensen is the best-selling author of No Sleep Till Sudbury, Leftover People, and All My Favorite People Are Broken. All titles available in stores and on Amazon worldwide.